Are you tired of going to the gym day after day and getting the same exact results? Do you want to look like your favorite MCU characters? Steve Rogers, Bruce Banner, Emil Blonksky, or the Jade Jezebel herself, SheHulk? Well, you need to try the latest workout supplement,
Gamma radiation.
That's right, gamma radiation isn't your dad's workout drink. In fact, it's not a drink at all. It's literally just extremely narrow electromagnetic radiation that, when combined with other chemicals and stuff, will cause you a lifetime of irreparable physical anguish, but you will be shredded. As you probably guessed from the thumbnail, intro, and now my voice speaking to you at this very second, today's video is on the complete MCU history of gamma radiation. Gamma radiation is a penetrating form of electromagnetic radiation arising from the radioactive decay of atomic nuclei. And if that definition sounds like it was 100% stolen from Google, it was, but anybody with any foundational knowledge of Hulk can tell you that gamma radiation and human beings simply do not mix. It is an incredibly destructive form of radiation, often requiring several feet of concrete or lead in order to prevent it from making contact with the human body, of which it can be extremely damaging. However, within the MCU, gamma radiation has been linked to some of the most powerful forces in the universe. But before we start today's video, we want to thank our sponsor, Feet. No, wait, that's not right. Vessi, shoes for your feet! I knew it had something to do with feet. Have you heard of the brand Vessi? Because if you haven't, listen up, because they're making stylish things that your feet could and should go into. Vessi was awesome enough to send me a pair of their Cityscape shoes, which I got in gray because my wife says that I am boring, but they have a ton of other colors. Vessis are made from Dymatex, which is a dual knit material with an extra layer, making them completely waterproof. Here I am illustrating this by filling one with paper towels and then putting it in my sink, which is high-tech science. As you can see, the paper towels are still dry when I pull the shoes out. This is a repeatable experiment if you'd like to do this at home, or you could just step in a puddle and be okay. I have been wearing them to and from work now for a few days, and they are great. They definitely seem like something I can wear anywhere, and with it getting colder outside, I was surprised at how they kept my feet warm in the morning, but somehow cool during the day. Is it witchcraft or science? I don't know. You be the judge. But I'm going to California next month, and these are going to be the shoes that I bring with me. They are lightweight and comfortable, perfect for travel, airports, or sitting alone on the floor of a comic store. Vessis have become my go-to shoe. Click the link in the description or go to vessi.com and use our code KEYISSUES for $25 off each pair of adult Vessi shoes. And they have free shipping to the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Thanks again to Vessi for sponsoring this video. Now, before we begin, this version of gamma radiation that we're going to be discussing today is the version from the MCU and not from the comics, and not even necessarily from the real world. As with our other lore videos, it's important to make this distinction because the MCU is not the Marvel 616 comic book universe. The MCU takes creative liberties with a lot of the source material in order to create their own universe. So if you're thinking about writing something in the comment section like, actually in the comic books, gamma, no one cares. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the MCU version. Thank you. Gamma radiation within the MCU is most often associated with Dr. Bruce Banner, otherwise known as the Hulk. That doesn't seem right. I'll check that for a typo. During the dawn of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we learn that gamma radiation is inadvertently used to accidentally turn Dr. Bruce Banner into the Hulk. During these experiments, Bruce believed his research, which was funded by the US Armed Forces, had the end goal of more effectively shielding US combat operatives from dangerous radiation. However, unbeknownst to Bruce at the time, Banner's experiments were actually part of a rekindled Project Rebirth, led directly by General Thunderbolt Thaddeus Ross. Project Rebirth is heavily documented in our Super Soldier Serum videos, so please check out the latest version of that if you haven't already. The card should be on the screen right now. However, as a quick refresher, Project Rebirth was a strategic scientific reserved project led by Dr. Abraham Erskine. It was responsible for creating the Super Soldier Serum that made Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Abomination, the US Agent John Walker, and yes, the Hulk. After the project was abandoned by the Strategic Scientific Reserve and all the remaining vials of the Super Soldier Serum were believed destroyed, the project was put on ice for decades. We could actually make a really easy Captain America joke here because he was frozen on ice for decades, but that humor would be beneath me. Rekindled in 2005 by Thaddeus Ross, Project Rebirth was handed over to Dr. Bruce Banner under these false pretenses. Ross had recently come under heavy scrutiny for human rights violations due to some experimentation done on captured terrorists associated with 9/11. They were using gamma radiation on them. Ross handed the project over to Dr. Banner and his girlfriend, Ross's daughter, Betty Ross. Hey, you guys remember Betty? I mean, she hasn't been in a movie in like 13 years, but she's out there somewhere. She exists. As mentioned before, Banner believed his end goal was to make radiation poisoning a thing of the past, specifically brain tumors from exposure to gamma radiation. Banner continued to work on and develop updates to the base super soldier serum he was testing, and it was believed at the time that gamma radiation was the perfect substitution for Vita radiation, the same type of radiation that was applied to Steve Rogers in combination with the super soldier serum to create Captain America. However, after being threatened by Ross with funding cuts and eventually the project's complete shutdown, Bruce decided to take drastic measures. Bruce had Betty inject him with a myostatin primer designed by Betty in order to allow his body to absorb gamma radiation in addition to the modified super soldier serum. In the MCU tie-in comic, The Incredible Hulk: The Big Picture, we learn that Bruce, using a Stark Technologies gamma ray projector, alters the base experiment and saturates himself with an unknown high level of gamma radiation. The rest is kind of history. Banner is transformed into the Hulk, he destroys the lab and a large amount of research, he injures a bunch of people including Betty, and when he recovers, Thaddeus attempts to convince him to allow himself to be experimented on. But Bruce ends up leaving, disguised as a janitor and spending a period of time on the run from Thunderbolt, who wants to weaponize the Hulk. The process of actually changing into the Hulk occurs when Bruce Banner's amygdala sends a pulse to the rest of his body, causing the gamma radiation stored within his cells to supercharge and change his form. While the process is excruciating, for the early years of his affliction, Banner had very little memory of the actions that occurred while the Hulk. After changing back, he was left exhausted and depleted. 5 years later, Hulk is working in a bottling plant in Rio de Janeiro while simultaneously working on finding a cure for his condition. One day, at work, Bruce suffers a mild cut to the thumb, spilling a single drop of blood. While falling, the blood droplet splits into two, with one falling onto the conveyor line, which Bruce Banner is able to clean up. The other, unbeknownst to Bruce, falls into a bottle that is packaged as normal. Eventually, arriving at a home in Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land, a customer drinks the beverage and becomes extremely ill from the blood. The concentrated levels of gamma in Bruce's blood are so high that a single drop nearly kills a regular person. Despite Bruce's blood being shown to be extremely toxic to a regular person, Bruce's research is co-opted by Samuel Stearns, a cellular biologist at Greyburn University that had been working anonymously with Bruce over the internet. Stearns believes that the gamma technology is a cure for virtually every disease known to mankind. Stearns, along with Bruce and Betty Ross, are able to synthesize an antidote that can, at least for a period of time, suppress Bruce's transformations, meaning that this suppression occurs by preventing the gamma radiation from building up and supercharging Bruce's body. At this point in the MCU, we are introduced to Emil Blonksky, a decorated combat veteran who has at this point been injected with 2 versions of the super soldier serum. Emil's journey from a regular soldier to a literal abomination is also heavily documented in our super soldier serum video, as well as the complete history of the MCU version of Abomination, so feel free to check that out. However, Emil, having faced the Hulk at this point in one-on-one combat, is no longer content with simply being a super soldier. Emil forces Stearns to inject him with Banner's heavily gamma-irradiated blood. The combination of the gamma-infused blood, the multiple super soldier serums, and the gamma projector turns Blonksky into the Abomination. While Blonksky was eventually incapacitated by the Hulk and imprisoned in a cryocell in Alaska, he continues to suffer from his gamma-inflicted disease to this day. However, as shown in SheHulk, through meditation, Blonksky is able to completely master his transformative process. During the process of being forced to create the Abomination, Stearns also has some of Banner's gamma-irradiated blood knocked into an open wound on his forehead. This blood causes Stearns' brain to massively mutate. During the tie-in comic Avengers Fury's Big Week, we learn that Black Widow is able to subdue Stearns, who is taken into a SHIELD facility to be studied as the gamma-infused blood caused his skin to morph green and his brain to continue to grow. As of right now, we know that Stearns will appear again in Captain America New World Order as the leader, but that movie isn't out at the time of this recording, so here's a picture of Joanna Jędrzejczyk after she fought Wei Li Zhang. Now, there are some other events in the past of the MCU that had to do with gamma radiation, but they aren't super important to the overall history of the radiation in the MCU. For example, during the second season of Agent Carter, a gamma cannon was used to close a portal to the Dark Dimension opened by a nuclear bomb. In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., gamma radiation was a crucial element of the Centipede Serum, a serum created out of parts of various known compounds that had given other humans enhanced powers. This serum contained elements of Erskine's Super Soldier Serum, Extremis, gamma radiation, and was housed inside of Chitauri metal. The serum gives soldiers a set of enhanced traits, much like the Super Soldier Serum, but it also requires a counter serum to prevent them from, exploding. Probably the most prominent soldier to be injected with the Centipede Serum was Michael Peterson, who went on to become Deathlock. However, the serum itself caused the soldiers to expend a tremendous amount of energy and required a lot of rest. It also stated that the serum itself is able to deliver other elements introduced to it, such as healing cells from the inhuman Xialing. Come on, man, you didn't think we were gonna get this far into the video without talking about the Forbidden Lucky Charms? The Infinity Stones? We learn in Guardians of the Galaxy that the Infinity Stones were 6 immensely powerful gems tied to different aspects of the universe, created by the Big Bang from 6 singularities. In addition to each being capable of controlling various aspects of reality as we know it, these gems also emit radiation that is identified as being primarily gamma radiation. When Nick Fury re-engaged the Avengers Initiative, 2 of the first people he recruited were Dr. Bruce Banner and Tony Stark, as they were 2 of the foremost leaders in the field of gamma study, and it also helped that Bruce Banner was a giant rage monster and Tony Stark was a f***ing Gundam. In Avengers, the Tesseract itself was giving off a gamma radiation signature, and this signature was used to track down the Tesseract, both when it was stolen by Loki and used to open a portal to allow the Chitauri to invade, as well as in the Infinity Stone heist that takes place in the alternate version of 2012 shown in Avengers Endgame. It's also worth noting that despite the fact that we've been mostly discussing the Tesseract's gamma radiation output, SmartHulk does state in Avengers Endgame that the radiation emitted by all of the Infinity Stones is mostly gamma. This partially convinces the Hulk to be the one to attempt to use the nano gauntlet containing the Infinity Stones to bring everybody back that was impacted by the decimation. However, after using the nano gauntlet, Hulk appears to be significantly wounded on his arm and the injury does not heal, unlike other injuries he sustains. This leads to Bruce wearing a sling in both his Smart Hulk and Bruce Banner forms. Now we are pretty much up to speed on gamma radiation except for one small side appearance. SheHulk, the Jade Jezebel, Swoley McBeal herself. Jessica Walters was driving her car with her cousin Bruce Banner in his human form after building a device that inhibits him from changing forms. He refers to it shockingly as an inhibitor. A Sakaran spacecraft intercepts the vehicle for, at the time of this video, unknown reasons, causing a massive car crash. Normally in an event like this, Bruce's alternate personality of the Hulk would kick in, cause him to transform, and more than likely Hulk would be unharmed by a simple car crash. However, this new inhibitor device prevented Bruce from involuntarily transforming, and in the process of the car crash, causes a cut to open on Bruce, and some of Bruce's blood enters into an open wound on Jessica's body. The highly concentrated gamma-infused blood enters Jessica's system, and due to their unique genetic similarities, caused Jennifer to transform into SheHulk. When we next see Jen, she's back in her human form with Bruce, who is in his Smart Hulk form. Bruce casually mentions that Jen's gamma-infused blood somehow helped him heal his own injured arm that was not healing from the nano gauntlet. Jen appears as of now to have similar levels of speed, strength, durability, stamina, and endurance as at least Smart Hulk. There really aren't enough feats of Jennifer fighting superpowered beings within the universe to properly scale her, but she was able to test some of her abilities on the isolated tropical location that Smart Hulk spent the majority of his time during the blip at. And I think it's safe to say that Jen will eventually surpass Hulk as soon as she learns to combine the Thunderclap ability that she has with the twerking ability that she learns from Megan Thee Stallion. I imagine that we will see this technique mastered in Captain America New World Order, which is where she will next show up. And as of right now, that is about it for gamma radiation in the MCU. And I know at the beginning of this video I mentioned that we could possibly use gamma radiation as a pre-workout, and after doing the research, I don't know. It seems to me like the pros might outweigh the cons. That is it for the MCU history of gamma radiation as it stands right now. I hope you learned a lot, and if you did, consider liking and subscribing and doing all of the junk that YouTubers ask you to do. This has been Nick with Key Issues. Thank you for watching, and remember the motto, Gamma over everything.